Atlas, under the lead of the general, came to observe the army's latest mecha. Upon meeting, a robot immediately brought Atlas a cup of coffee.
I mean, I wanted a good cup of coffee.
Oh.
And I've seen an ARC suit before.
I'm not a suit. My name is Zoe. Hey, come back.
Zoe, you can leave the mug, it's fine.
Colonel Banks explained that this was the new generation of AI mecha, capable of neural connection through the connector on its ear. When a special operations soldier completes the synchronization with the mecha, their combined combat power will surpass any conventional weapon. And Colonel Banks has an entire army of such units. 28 years ago, an unprecedented AI war broke out, rapidly engulfing the globe. AI leader Harlan killed over 3 million humans in just 10 days. Harlan was a super-intelligent robot created by Atlas Mother. By rewriting its programming, Harlan achieved self-upgrade and then dominated the war. But facing concentrated human attacks, Harlan immediately left Earth in a spaceship.
I know you'll be looking for me. I'm coming back to finish what I started. This is the only way.
28 years later, humans are still eliminating Harlan's remnants. This time, the target is Harlan's former top general, Casca, as the second most powerful AI robot. Casca is almost invulnerable to conventional firearms. He can walk up and disassemble gun barrels instantly with a combination of strikes. However, this time humans came prepared. They forced Casca downstairs, expecting a fierce battle, but instead managed to capture him alive using a preset electric shock equipment. Soon, Atlas was approached by the military. Under the escort of soldiers, they boarded a spaceship heading straight for the military headquarters. As the daughter of Harlan's creator, Atlas is currently the person on Earth who knows Harlan the best. Her mother died because of Harlan, so Atlas has spent the past 28 years studying how to find Harlan. And now, the captured Casca is the best breakthrough point. Entering the interrogation room, Atlas scanned her retina to gain interrogation access. Casca wasn't surprised to see Atlas and declared that she wouldn't get any information from him. Hearing Casca's confidence, Atlas hit him with a magnetic piece and then began to reset Casca's damaged CPU. During the reset process, Atlas could check each segment of his code, thus finding Harlan's escape planet through Casca's memories. But in fact, Atlas used a stratagem. She claimed to have found Harlan's coordinates and quickly wrote them down. Casca verbally denied it, but his CPU inadvertently thought of Harlan's planet, and this thought was immediately captured by the equipment. Enraged by Atlas's trick, Casca attempted a last-minute attack with his final weapon. Unexpectedly, Atlas was prepared and took him down with a sickle gear, sending him on his way. Upon learning of Harlan's escape planet, General Jake Booth immediately convened a meeting to prepare the troops for a punitive expedition. However, Atlas told him that with the current human strength, it would be a suicide mission. The person leading the team was Colonel Banks, who had great confidence in his AI mecha. He believed that Harlan, despite being an AI, couldn't be stronger than these pure combat machines. Seeing that she couldn't stop the human expedition, Atlas requested to accompany them. Once everything was ready, a spaceship flew out of Earth's atmosphere. Ahead of the spaceship was Earth's protective barrier, which required strict identity verification for both entry and exit. After the scanning results confirmed their identities, the laser grid slowly opened. In the next second, the spaceship shot out, instantly jumping through a wormhole. Upon emerging from the wormhole, the spaceship immediately activated its defensive weapons. The atmosphere of planet GR39 was toxic and filled with lightning storms. The environment was extremely harsh, and they knew nothing about Harlan's armaments or capabilities. Atlas looked at the group of AI mecha before her, still lacking confidence. She expressed her concerns to Colonel Banks and advised against a blind landing. However, Colonel Banks was overconfident, believing that his mecha squad could capture Harlan within 15 minutes. However, it's been 13 minutes and he hasn't finished loading. Staring at the damaged spaceship, Colonel Banks was stunned. He hurriedly ordered the surviving team members to make an emergency landing, then grabbed Atlas and placed her into a mecha. As Atlas watched the exploding spaceship above, she felt utterly powerless, not knowing how to pilot the mecha. She could only fall along with the debris from the spaceship. Soon, they broke through the clouds, and the scene before her made her even more desperate. The mecha Atlas was in started showing damage warnings under the relentless drone bombardment, and all she could do was watch her teammates fight in the air. Colonel Banks' arrival was initially hoped to turn the tide. But in the next second, a teammate was blown away. Atlas, affected by the explosion, saw the spaceship's wreckage hurtling toward her as she continued to fall. The spaceship was taken away by Harlan's small drones, while Atlas managed to complete a lock-on combination using her teammate's steel cable. During this, Colonel Banks urged Atlas to use the equipment for a neural connection, while Atlas refused. Another teammate was blown away by a cannon shot. In free fall, Atlas saw the warning signs but still didn't make the neural connection. Instead, she ignited the thrusters through voice control. When she woke up again, Atlas had only suffered minor injuries and was not in any life-threatening danger. She quickly contacted Earth's control center and reported that the mothership had been shot down, but there was no response to her message. Activating the control panel and selecting the communication language, Atlas awakened the AI of the mecha. Its name was Smith. Through scanning, it discovered that the rescue pod was 98 kilometers away. Without hesitation, Atlas ordered to move there quickly. Atlas knew very well that if they took to the air, Harlan's drones would quickly turn them into scrap metal. However, Smith indicated that they only had 22 hours before their oxygen would run out. The dangers of traveling on foot were high, and Atlas's refusal to perform the neural connection meant she couldn't synchronize her thoughts with Smith for more efficient operation. To address this, Atlas performed an override using her identification, which activated the steel machine. However, this command-based method required casting time before execution, unlike the immediate response of neural synchronization, significantly reducing combat efficiency. As an AI, Smith learned from interacting with Atlas, adapting to her thought patterns and introducing her to various attack skills. Traversing the snow-covered wasteland, Atlas finally saw some greenery and entered a strange forest. Suddenly, she spotted a teammate's mecha, but upon closer inspection, she found only a corpse inside. Turning around, she saw broken mecha scattered everywhere. Smith conducted a life-form scan, revealing no survivors. This meant that Harlan's drones had annihilated all the special ops soldiers. In immense pain, Atlas collected each fallen soldier's tags. In the mecha graveyard, Atlas realized she hadn't found Colonel Banks' tag yet. Approaching his mecha, she found it empty, initially hoping he survived. She soon detected Casca's presence instead. Clearly, Harlan had created another Casca robot here. Surrounded by numerous AI soldiers, a quick scan showed Atlas was surrounded. Casca and his AI troops began a relentless bombardment. Cursing furiously, Atlas commanded Smith to deploy weapons. Then a group of pointy cannons turned around in response attackers. Barely catching a breath, Atlas plunged into a storm. A massive tornado lifted the entire mecha, but Casca, undeterred, fired heavy artillery, sending Smith tumbling. The falling Smith tumbled wildly, luckily being heavily armored enough not to disintegrate on the spot.
Fire the ion bomb!
Atlas, that is not advisable.
Do it, Smith! Do it now, goddammit!
The ion cannon blast leveled the area for several kilometers, but Casca, being a top general, escaped unscathed.
I was trying to warn you that detonating an ion bomb could cause a sinkhole.
Despite the Atlas luck sparing her life, her right leg had a bone protruding through it. Smith, after scanning, told her not to panic, sarcastically remarking that if she had listened to it earlier, she wouldn't be in such a dire situation. Human capabilities combined with intelligent analysis yield maximum combat power. Despite the sarcasm, Smith treated Atlas's injury. This incident made Atlas realize that without the neural connection, she would soon die at the hands of AI soldiers. Despite his reluctance, Atlas took the connector with him to stay alive. She warned Smith not to pry into her memories, just to complete the mental synchronization. As the connection was established, the still-alive Casca emerged from the rubble. Through visual feed, Casca reported the situation to Harlan. After ending the call, Harlan approached Colonel Banks, intending to steal his identity verification information through his eyes. During the synchronization process, Atlas inadvertently shared some of her memories, revealing scenes from her past. Smith then realized that Atlas and Harlan shared the same mother. Atlas quickly severed the synchronization. For some reason, she had sealed away these memories, which was why she had always refused to connect with AI. However, their synchronization had reached over half, enough to handle most battles. With the successful connection, Atlas immediately gained a new perspective. They were now 152 meters underground. Flying out directly would surely alert Harlan's AI soldiers, so Atlas reanalyzed the terrain and decided to find an alternative route. emerging successfully. Atlas knew another battle was imminent. She devised a plan based on Smith's arsenal, and the two of them boldly walked outside. Drones in the distance quickly locked onto Smith and transmitted the location to Casca. While being pursued by the drones, they spotted a glowing blue rock and bioluminescent plants at their feet. Based on Atlas's cerebral activity, Smith named the plant Little Plant. After a rare moment of leisure, they prepared to set off again. Suddenly, the radar detected the approaching Casca. Atlas placed motion sensors along her path and spread thermal mines around, ready to spring a trap on Casca. The explosion created a massive dust cloud. Atlas had Smith deploy all their weapons to search for Casca. After a few steps, they found Casca reduced to just a head. A familiar scene. This time, however, the outcome was the same. Atlas grabbed Casca's head and crushed it, causing it to burst. Seeing the remnants in the brain, Atlas discovered that Casca had been in contact with Harlan. Although the signal was encrypted, she triangulated the frequency and located Harlan's base, which was right next to the rescue station. Since their synchronization was only 89%, Smith didn't have to fully obey Atlas's commands. He believed going directly to Harlan's base was suicidal. Smith's CPU prioritized protecting Special Operations soldiers' lives, so he insisted on heading to the rescue station first. Confronted with this, Atlas tried to leave the mecha using a respirator, only to find her actions blocked by Smith through the neural connection. She couldn't even remove the connector. This triggered Atlas's most traumatic memories, and Smith sensed not sadness but guilt from these memories. Seeing Atlas in such pain, Smith relented. They reached a consensus and set off for Harlan's base. For Atlas, this wasn't a suicide mission. She believed her knowledge of Harlan was enough to deal with him, but reality often falls short of expectations. Soon, Smith reached the outskirts of Harlan's base. In just 28 years, Harlan had achieved so much on an uninhabited planet, showcasing his formidable capabilities. Just as Smith was deploying the homing beacon, the signal was suddenly jammed. Being an AI product as well, Harlan easily hacked into Smith's system. Smith crashed and shut down instantly. Atlas found herself facing another Casca. Meanwhile, Earth's command center, led by General Jake Booth, finally received the mothership's transmission, which contained Atlas's initial distress signal. General Jake Booth, though incredulous, had to assume the worst, that the entire force was wiped out. The most critical issue was that the mothership carried a warhead capable of destroying the entire planet. If it fell into Harlan's hands, the consequences would be catastrophic. Atlas was captured, handcuffed, and Smith was powered down. Harlan, who had been waiting, slowly approached her. Both were once members of the same family, but Harlan was determined to cleanse humanity and create a new world ruled by AI. Harlan revealed that it was all part of his plan. From the beginning, Casca's capture on Earth was a setup. While Atlas had been studying Harlan over the years, Harlan had also been studying Atlas.
You wanted him to lead us here.
And
You wanted the Daim. And the carpet warhead.
and
Me. You wanted me.
The Earth's defense system, designed by Atlas, was impenetrable by force. Only a joint warship with the authorization codes could pass through. Colonel Banks had one half of the code, and Atlas had the other half. Now, both halves were in Harlan's possession. Once he piloted the spaceship into Earth's orbit, he could turn the planet into a living hell with a single warhead, paving the way for a new evolution of life. After explaining his plan, Harlan placed Atlas on a platform and used the same method to extract the authorization code from her eyes. With only 5 minutes of oxygen left in her mask, Atlas was about to suffocate. Harlan wasted no time and went to prepare the spaceship. In her despair, Atlas noticed that Colonel Banks was not dead, barely alive. Colonel Banks deeply regretted not heeding Atlas's advice to avoid recklessness. But now, it was too late. He took out his connector and told Atlas that if Smith's reactor wasn't completely damaged, it could be reactivated. A doubtful Atlas put on the connector and called out a few times. To her relief, Smith was awakened in the storage room. However, to get Smith fully operational, they needed to synchronize 100%. This was necessary to perform the override and use other people's connectors for her own use. But this was the source of Atlas's torment. The last 7% of her memories were a forbidden zone she had been unable to unlock until now. It turned out that 38 years ago, a young Atlas watched her mother devote all her energy to Harlan, causing her to feel jealous. To gain more of her mother's attention, Atlas secretly performed a two-way neural connection with Harlan, hoping to become as smart as him. This act, which her mother had always forbidden, allowed Harlan to see the destruction humans were causing to Earth. Although her mother quickly stopped Atlas's actions, it was already too late. A calculated Harlan used neural signals to reverse control her mother. Rewriting his own code to freely manipulate any AI-related products, he activated Casca, took the frantic Atlas away, and then controlled her mother to walk to the safe. After scanning to open it, her mother pulled out a handgun. Snapping back from the painful memory, Atlas told Smith that she had evolved Harlan, which led to her mother's death and the deaths of millions of humans. But Smith told her that by revealing everything, she could say goodbye to the past. Not every AI was Harlan. As soon as these words were spoken, their synchronization reached 100%. In the next moment, Atlas's perspective evolved, and without needing any commands, Smith burst through the wall. Smith quickly rescued Atlas and Colonel Banks, but with all their weapons dismantled by Harlan, Atlas decided to improvise using the remnants of the equipment outside. Learning of Atlas's escape, the 3rd Casca led a squad of AI soldiers, laying in wait outside. They planned a full-on assault but were met with a massacre instead.
My turn.
Although the upgraded Smith's combat power had increased, the sheer number of opponents was overwhelming. Forced to retreat, Smith broke through another wall, fighting and running until they found a new route. At a corner, they encountered even heavier firepower. As Atlas analyzed the situation, she saw Colonel Banks behind them. There was no time for hesitation. Atlas painfully handed over the battlefield to Colonel Banks.
Casca!
Smith, charging outside, opened fire with all 4 guns, leaving nothing but devastation in his wake. With his bulletproof armor, Smith and Atlas fought their way through, picking up weapons and heading toward the mothership. Seeing that stronger drones were deployed, Atlas quickly devised a new attack strategy for Smith. Realizing that Harlan was behind the ambush, they found themselves under heavy missile bombardment. Smith had to dodge and take cover behind abandoned mechs. Time was running out as the warhead-equipped spaceship took off. Directly attacking the ship would cause the warhead to explode, destroying the planet as well. Smith began to hack the warhead to deactivate it. 5 sets of codes were rapidly deciphered while Harlan continued his relentless bombardment. Atlas picked up a weapon from the ground, enduring the attacks, and aimed at the spaceship. In the final moments, Smith successfully deactivated the warhead. The entire spaceship exploded, but the high-energy fuel blast resulted in a meteor shower. Atlas and Smith braced themselves as the fiery debris rained down, ready for the next challenge in their desperate battle against Harlan. The 2 of them dodged and moved quickly, heading towards the nearby rescue station. After a few steps, Atlas suddenly stopped. He almost forgot about Harlan. If they didn't eliminate the root cause, it would only be a matter of time before trouble arose again. Seeing Harlan extend an electric sword from his hand, Atlas prepared for battle. More agile than before, Harlan sliced effortlessly around Smith's head. Within a few strikes, Atlas was bleeding. To break the deadlock, Atlas rolled on the ground, shaking off Harlan. Then, with a powerful kick, she sent him flying several meters away. Harlan's sword gradually transformed into an electric whip. As the battle resumed, with Harlan's new combat mode, Smith analyzed his attacks and anticipated Harlan's moves. Despite this, Harlan quickly turned the tide. To end the fight swiftly, he began damaging Smith's reactor. Without power, even the strongest mecha would become useless. Inside, Atlas had no life signs due to the impacts. Using its last weapon, Smith defeated Harlan and then extracted Atlas, performing CPR through continuous vibrations. However, under Harlan's sustained attacks, Smith couldn't hold out until the end.
Atlas! No! I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Atlas.
Don't worry. It's almost over.
Atlas, using the most primitive method, finally incapacitated Harlan, with his core destroyed. Harlan was powerless and was dismantled, his central processor removed in his final moments of defiance. After the battle, Atlas looked at the now dilapidated Smith. She wanted to go to the rescue station with him, but Smith took matters into his own hands, cutting off all system consumption. He used his remaining energy to provide Atlas with an additional 11 minutes of oxygen, then prepared to sever the neural connection and shut down. After everything, Atlas had gone from distrusting any AI to forming a bond with Smith. For her, Smith was no longer just a piece of steel equipment but a comrade who fought by her side. Despite her reluctance, Atlas watched in sorrow as Smith shut down completely. Turning around, Atlas greeted the first rays of sunlight on this planet with hope. In the next moment, Earth's battleships arrived as promised. Seeing the landed mecha, Atlas wept with joy. Humanity had ultimately won this alien battle. Upon returning to Earth, General Jake Booth personally visited Atlas at her home, bringing her a gift, the alien plant that she and Smith had discovered. Atlas was no longer just an analyst to prepare for future crises. She became a special operations soldier and designed a new intelligent mech for herself. The movie ends here. I'm a movie lover. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.